Thank you.
First of all, after the weekend, is it now all or nothing regarding this competition and this tie with Slavia Prague?
Well, this competition is all or nothing because when you play a tie, you are in or you are out, and we want to be in the semi-finals, and we know how important the game is for us.
But in terms of getting into the Champions League for next season, I think you'll admit now that getting into via the Premier League is probably gone.
Till it's mathematically possible, you have to fight, and there's no other way to do it. We have to be realistic where we are in the league, and it's extremely difficult, but mathematically possible, so you have to stick to that.
And how much are you relying on Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang? Again, you got a bit of criticism from pundits and critics after the performance against Liverpool at the weekend.
We rely on every player in the squad to give their best, to be the maximum, and perform on the pitch at the level that is required at this club.
Thank you, Mikel.
Thank you.
Touched on a couple of the injury situations, particularly Kieran. The bulletin we get is 4 to 6 weeks, hopefully back in training. So that's getting quite tight, isn't it, in the worst scenario for playing again this season?
Yes, we have to make sure first that he doesn't need any surgery, which it doesn't look like it, and if that's the case, the time frame will be around what you said, Gary. So it could have been worse because the action looks quite scary, but he's feeling better, and the damage is not that bad. So at the end of the day, it's not the bad news that maybe we could wait for after the game.
So, for such an important player, assuming you don't make, well, let's not assume you don't, unless you make the Europa League final, would you put caution first and maybe say it's unlikely he would play again this season?
I don't know. We're going to have to go day by day, see how Kieran is feeling, how Danny is reacting, and when we get close to playing time and training with the team, and depending where we are and how he's feeling, we'll make that decision.
And obviously you think it'll be okay for the Euros for all our Scottish friends watching?
Again, it will depend how things evolve in the next few weeks. Obviously, he's so keen to play for us before the end of the season, and obviously he's extremely keen to represent his country in the Euros.
And another doubt's Martin Odegaard. What's his chances for tomorrow?
Again, we will assess him today, how he's feeling. He's been carrying an injury for the last 2 or 3 days since he got injured with the national team. We have a few of them for the last game when we play Liverpool as well, so it will be today the day probably when we see where everybody is at and who is available for tomorrow.
And just finally, better news it seems with Saka, Smith Rowe and Granit Xhaka.
Yes, again, today is the day when they're going to be training fully with the team and they see how they feel.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mikel, he's obviously been in a very emotional time the last couple of weeks. A sad time for him and his family. I was just wondering if the club or you have reached out to Lucas to kind of find out how he's doing and help him during this tough time.
Yeah, of course. We contact him. We have spoken to him, and we know how difficult time this is for him. He was really attached to his mom. He's really attached to his family, and hard times for him. With emotionally, there is a lot of thoughts and things that go through your mind, and tranquilo, when things are like that, is not the moment to make a decision.
Yeah, he's been very public in the aftermath of what's happened about his desire to return to South America and join Boca Juniors. I mean, I'm sure you've read the comments. How can you understand how he wants that move at the moment and how he's feeling?
I understand how he's feeling emotionally, probably his need and responsibility to be closer to his family. But it's not the moment to make any decision. Certainly, it's a decision that has to be made by different parties, and now nothing is going to change. So it's just an interview, some comments, and let's wait what happens.
Yeah, I think he's still got a couple of years left on his contract, and Boca's finances are perhaps not what can really stretch to what Arsenal would want. How difficult would it be to find a balance between meeting a player's emotional desires and maybe the club's financial needs?
It's something very common because players go through different stages in their careers and different emotional moments, and these things happen, and we have to deal with that. We know that when you recruit a player from a foreign country, when they have that struggle sometimes to adapt to a new culture and a new language, a new way of doing things. This risk is there, and then you have to be able to manage that risk and make the right decision at the right time.
Thank you, Mikel.
Just one from me. You spoke about systems there. Is the back three is still a system you look at, or has the team moved on from that and you don't see them playing that anymore?
The team has to have the flexibility to adjust when it's needed. Sometimes because of what the opposition is doing, sometimes just to adapt the quality of the players that we have, sometimes because opponents cannot just predict exactly what we're going to do. So there are different ways, and we have to be flexible to that.
Thanks, Mikel.
Thank you.
Mikel, I just want to ask you about William in terms of his progression this year. Before Christmas, his form was very good, but he hasn't really featured that much after Christmas. Are you happy with Williams in terms of his first year at Arsenal, or do you think he's fulfilling his potential? We all know Williams' potential.
I think we can reach a high performance level because his potential is so big. He needs the contribution to the team and the team to be stable in order to provide what he needs to express himself on the pitch. It's true that in recent weeks we've seen a much better version of him, and his contribution when he's playing has been really positive. So it's going to be crucial, his form, for the performance on the team in the last 2 months.
Cheers, Mikel.
James?
Hi, Mikel. I'd just like to ask you a little bit more about Kieran. Obviously, he's so important to the way you build up. I think he's your leading chance creator. Is this going to necessitate a change of system, a change of how you build your attacks without Kieran over the next few months?
Yeah, we're going to have to make some adjustment because his qualities are unique, and we don't have anybody to replace these qualities within the squad unless we start to move a lot of pieces, which without any time to train is a bit dangerous to do. But we're going to have to find different ways to fulfill that gap and use other things that can be as effective as well.
I'm sure Bukayo is someone you view as one of those options. When you consider making a change like that, do you worry that you're going to imbalance your team then in two positions by not having the same player of Tierney standards and then missing out on Bukayo on the right wing?
That's the reality. If you have to change something, you have to find a different way of attacking. At the same time, the structure when you are defending and in transition moments has to be stable and has to be done by players that are comfortable by doing that. We knew that position was a weakness around the squad because we didn't have anybody to replace him. And we have to find different solutions.
You were looking in January. Was it just that there wasn't a deal that was the right deal to make at that time?
We could not do anything on that window. We decided to let Kolasinac out on loan as well, and it's a decision that we made.
Thank you.
George?
If you play like you did on Saturday night, do you think you'll go out of this competition? I know it's 2 legs, but
I don't want to think that we're going to play the way we did. Every game is completely different. I want to think that we can play at the level that we play against other opponents this year, and then we'll have a great chance to be in the next round.
are you pulling your hair out as to why sometimes you can play so well and then a couple of weeks later you can play so different?
Yes, I do. And you have to find that, and it doesn't happen again.
Gary Neville and Jamie Carragher were very critical about some of your players on Monday night. Gary Neville said it looked like there's possibly a little mafia forming. I just wondered what your response was to that.
No response. I think we have to respect every opinion, and when there is criticized coming after the way we play against Liverpool, we have to take it on the chin because it's fully deserved any critique that we get with the way we played. So it's not time to respond. It's time to talk on the pitch and show what we can do, which when we are at full gas is a lot.
And your captain Aubameyang, does he need to start putting in better performances?
I think the whole team and myself have to put a better performance than we did the other day against Liverpool, that's for sure.
And you're confident you'll make it through to the next round?
We have a really difficult opponent. If you see how they come into that position, they completely merit that. They've done it in a really specific way and really efficient way, and it will be a challenge, that's for sure.
Okay, thank you. Good luck.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm just wondering what the areas you think the players need to improve are in terms of their performances.
Again, going back to the performance the other day, it's every single area we have to do it much better. Then, yeah, I cannot discuss here the specific things that we need to do better. What we need to do is pick up results, pick up the best possible performance, because that's going to allow us to get the result that we want. That's all I'm interested for in the next 6-7 weeks.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Can you hear me well? Hello, I would like to ask you about Slavia, if you can say a few more words about the team. What do you expect from them, and how impressed you were when you saw how they played against Leicester, against Rangers, and maybe what will be your message for your players regarding them before the game? Thank you.
That they are really a strong side. They've been unbeaten in the league. You see how they have evolved in the last few years, competing at the highest level. They've always been in the game. They made it really difficult, really competitive, brave, very direct and incisive, and a team that can cause you problems throughout the game. They never give up, top attitudes all the time, and that's why they beat those teams, because they are really good sides.
Martin, tactically, you've said that Slavia play in a really specific way. Could you be more concrete on how different is your opponent to perhaps anyone else you've faced this season, for instance?
No, it's very specific, very creative, some of the things that they do, and some rare things that you don't see in a lot of teams. But I would describe them as a really brave team.
And can I also ask you about some individualities in the team, because obviously a lot of talk has been around Abdellah Sima and his recurring form this season. He's been a revelation in the Czech League so far. Have you been watching his progress, and have any other players from Slavia caught your eye specifically?
Yeah, but I would like to highlight the collective performance that they put in. Obviously, they have some really good individuals. They have some really good players there as well that they sold in recent years, and the market is looking at them because they've been a really good side. So we know that they have some really interesting players there.